Greatsa University. Quality education for the real world.
Good afternoon, class. Good afternoon once again. And so, welcome to our today's lesson. Since last week, we've been talking about print media and non-print media. And allow me to introduce the topic of discussion that we did last week. That is print media. Kindly, may I see any of you taking us through what we did last week? Maybe the definition of print media and what print media entails. Yes, Fabian.
Print media refers to any paper having symbols on it. And the symbols could be words, could be diagrams, drawings, or numericals. So print media can be divided also into, it entails the photographic and electronic, which is used to storing data and documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as Fabian has said that print media entails any form of writing with symbols and numericals and diagrams. We also talked about the characteristics of print media. Who can take us through the characteristics of print media? Yes, Sheila.
One of the characteristics of print media, there is a specific mechanism for the production or creation of print media. For example, the typewriters. Also, the symbols in print media are usually arranged in an area or surface. Thank you.
Yeah, another student also take us through the characteristics of print media.
The print media are on a surface of a paper. For example, a newspaper. When you are reading a newspaper, you are reading on the surface of the paper. Again, a print media is only intended to be used by a single individual at a time. When it is a set book, you cannot read a set book with your partners at the same time. You have to read, then after you have finished, you give it to him or her. So it is only used by an individual at a time.
Thank you so much. Those were the characteristics of print media, and also the definition of print media has been given to us by Fabian, Sheila, and Georgia. Now, allow me also talk about advantages of print media, which we also did talk about, and allow one of the students to take us through the the advantages of print media.
Yeah, some of the print media, they are convenient and powerful, and they are also easy to buy and also maintain, and many others.
Thank you. Another advantage of print media from Faldo.
Okay, so print media has many advantages as well. So first advantage of print media, I can say, print media is portable. For example, newspaper, you can walk with it, you can move it with it from one place to another, or even the textbook or any other books. Another advantage of print media is that they are readily available. For example, in school, books are readily available. They are there. You can reach and find them easily. Another advantage, they are very cheap as compared to the non-print media. For example, if you compare a cost of a newspaper and cost of TV, you'll find the cost of TV is a bit expensive as compared to that newspaper. Another advantage is that they are complement of visual arts. For example, in a book or even in a newspaper or even in a magazine, the written symbols, they are visible, you can see them, and you can read them. I think those are the advantages of print media.
Thank you so much. Having said those are the recap of what we did last week. We did talk about print media, the characteristics of print media, advantages of print media. And therefore, allow me to take you into today's topic, which is disadvantages of print media. So, as we all know, something with an advantage must also have a disadvantage. Maybe just before I tell you some of the disadvantages of print media, may I see any of the students who at least is aware of what we are talking about? Yes, Gilbert.
My part, I can say that the disadvantages of print media may include that they are discriminatory in that they can only be used by those that are literate. That is, they can read and write. And also, they are not that interactive, as in the author is most of the time not there to explain to the learners of what some concepts that they captured in their textbooks or other written materials. And also another disadvantage is that when we rely so much on these textbooks and other print media, we can contradict with our schemes of work and also the lessons plan. So,
thank you so much, Gilbert. At least one of our own has an idea on what we want to talk about. So, disadvantages of print media. One, they are highly interactive. They are highly non-interactive. Print media, it is something that cannot interact with you. It cannot talk, nor can it do anything. It is you who has to do everything. It cannot give a response or maybe give an explanation on what you want to know. Take an example of a book. You are reading from a book, but you don't understand something from the book. You are not going to ask the book to explain to you what it is written there. And then two, the authors are always ignore some information. Take an example of a book that for example, you are doing a research. You realize that this book will have this certain information, and if you proceed to the next book does not have that same information, but instead it has another information that is different from what you have. And then lastly, they cannot be used for better understanding. There must be a teacher to be explaining everything. And so those are the disadvantages of print media. And so allow us to take an example of one print media, which is textbook. I believe all of us are aware and is familiar with what a textbook is. All of us know what a textbook is. Looking at a textbook, what do you think are some of the functional uses of a textbook? Any student? Yes,
Talking about textbook, there are print materials published in various uses. Basically, they are meant to provide source of information to both teachers and students. Functional uses of textbook. Since they provide information for both teachers and students, the first use of textbook is that they are used as a teaching assistant. Uses number two, they are used to individualize learning through individual or independent study assignment.
Thank you so much. Just as Ledama said, one of the functional uses of a textbook, one, They are used as a teaching assistants. Why do we say so? In any circumstance, when a teacher will be standing in front, just as I am doing so, you'll realize that the teacher will be using a textbook as an assistance for reference. And then two, they are used to individualize learning. What do I say when I mean they're used to individualize learning? When a student or a teacher is having a textbook, it is very easy for you to understand. As the teacher is explaining, you go through the textbook to know more and understand it better. And then three, they help learners to improve language and research strategies. Take an example of a textbook, go through that textbook, you'll realize that there's some information on how a research should be done. This information, we cannot get them without a textbook. And therefore, the textbook provides for us a reference on how to get the research. And then lastly, they are used as a base on which content can be retrieved. You realize that before a teacher is prepared to come to class, there must be that teacher at some particular time. That teacher has to go through a textbook and maybe know what is going to teach. Like for instance, before I came to take you through what we are doing here today, I had to go through a textbook and maybe know what a textbook is or what the disadvantages of print media were from a textbook. And therefore, a textbook takes a bigger part of learning. And then we also have some considerations that we must consider when you want to choose a textbook for use in class. As a teacher or a learner, you're not just going to pick any textbook to be used anywhere. There are some considerations that you must put forward for you to be able to get the best textbook. One, we talk about content. For us to be able to present what you're doing here, or maybe learn what you're doing here today, which is the print media and non-print media, there must be that textbook to give us that content. We are not just picking it from any book, but the book with the content. And then two, content arrangement. Look at how a textbook is providing you or displaying information in terms of content. Look at the systematic manner at which content is being displayed. Don't just pick any textbook, but pick a textbook that has got all its content arranged in order. And then three, mechanical standards. We need a book. We need a book that is going to provide us with quality. A textbook that is going to provide us with quality. A textbook that is going to last longer. A textbook that will maybe teach you and also teach other students. And therefore, for you to be able to pick a good textbook, or for you to be able to recommend a good textbook, there are considerations that I've said must be taken into consideration. One, as I had said earlier, content, and then two, content arrangement, and then finally three, mechanical standards. Having said those, I believe all of us are now able to know what a textbook is, the consideration into which one must put forward to be able to get the best textbook. And also, I believe all of us are aware of the disadvantages of print media. Maybe just to pose a question, anybody who remembers what I said are the considerations of a good textbook? Yes, Georgia.
Okay. One of the considerations of a good textbook is the textbook. We consider the mechanical standards where the textbook should be, the spacing should be well spaced in a way that we can read the textbook without straining, and the textbook we can use the textbook, then it can be used by other people. That means the textbook is durable, can serve the people for a long time.
Thank you so much. As she has said, the content arrangement, and she has also explained the mechanical standards. Maybe just one last more point that you remembered about the consideration to put across when looking for a good textbook. Yes, Fabian.
You can say the mechanical standards of the textbook. The mechanical standard of the textbook should be considered so to ensure that the book contains the content required for the learners.
Thank you so much. Having talked about that, I believe all of us are now able to answer any question. Should I pose any question to you, or should I bring you an exams? All of us are now in a position to answer what print media would be, and also what the characteristics of print media would be, and then finally the disadvantages of print media, and also the considerations to put forward when looking for a good textbook to be used in class. Having said those, thank you for attending today's lesson, and may God bless all of you.
Greatsa University. Quality education for the real world.